Happy holidays, everybody. Still cold, little sting in the wind. But some of you, Santa brought a Shimano Curado DC. That's right. And I know that because I've had a few of you reach out to me and ask me specific questions about this reel. How do I adjust it? What pound braid would you put on it? I noticed that I only have one adjustment dial on it. Is it okay to utilize it in salt water? Lots of questions. Well, got me thinking. It got me thinking that it's cold out here and we should go in the studio and I'll tell you all about it. Let's go. Well, I pulled one of these out of the box because I actually had one down here in a gear bag that I have not placed on a rod yet. Now, some of the questions that I was alluding to earlier before we came inside here, which I thought would be warmer, but it's not. It's cold in here too, but I can't turn the heater on back there or you won't be able to hear this. I was unfamiliar and didn't know the nuances of DC technology either when I first received one of these things a few years ago. Now, these reels have been out probably 3+ years now, going on 4, but probably 3+ years now. And I have seen them put them in a couple of different sizes now, but 150 naturally is the one that works best for inshore anglers like us. And they have a couple of different gear ratios, but the DC, what it really stands for is it's a digital braking system. There's a chip in here, not a computer, but it acts like a computer. It literally makes 1,000 decisions per second, calculations, if you will. And it determines whether you're going to overrun the spool or not. So it greatly diminishes the opportunity to backlash and the need for you to thumb it as much. So for those of you that are new or novice to casting gear, this reel is going to be pretty cool. I know a lot of you that may have got one of these reels because you wanted to see what the capability was, because I mean, you're investing, or Santa is investing $260 odd in this. But there are some real, I'm going to say, scenarios that even for the seasoned thumb, this could be a great reel. Now, some of the questions were about the adjustment. There's only one dial on the side and it goes from 1 through 4. And then naturally there's the traditional tension knob. Now, let's talk about the tension knob right away. For the computer chip inside the reel, to measure the spool speed, you cannot have it set. This is for those of you that are really seasoned, where there's a lot of slack, click, 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 the spool is wobbling. They actually set it at the factory perfectly. If you've already adjusted, don't worry. All you have to do is slowly turn it forward, tighten it so that it doesn't go back and forth. Just so it doesn't go back and forth, and then the chip can do its job properly. Now let me explain this side brick over here on the left side of the reel, because that's important. Now there's 4 adjustments on here, 1 through 4. And I would start off with number 1. Number 1 is definitely going to be for those seasoned guys that like to throw or have to throw that long bomb. If you're throwing a heavier plug, or you're just trying to drive the longest casting distance you can, turn it to 1. Now at 1, there will be the risk, if all things aren't perfect, that it could overrun a little bit. But you'll adjust, you'll understand how it works. Number 2 is what I think I run this reel at most of the time. Number 2 on the dial, perfect for braid, awesome for braid. And in many cases, some of my mono applications when I'm fishing Paul Brown lures and things like that are kind of a little bit bulky. And I like to fish those on mono. And that's a whole nother YouTube video. And then moving down the list, if you are a little less experienced and you don't want to go to number 2 to start off with this reel, I would start with number 3. Number 3 is going to be real forgiving. So forgiving, it'll be hard to backlash, in my opinion. And it'll give you a decent, I'm going to say, weight range with your lures, anywhere from 3/8 on up. You're going to be able to throw quite easily. Now, the bass guys would say fluorocarbon throws perfect on that because it's a little stiffer line, has a little harder time getting going. So 3 is a good setting for those guys. And then a lot of you are saying, well, so what's 4 for? 4, more extreme conditions. If I push pull and my guy turns into the wind and it's a good wind coming around a corner and he's throwing, I'll tell him, I was like, listen, you've had that thing on 2, put it on 4 right now because you're going to be throwing into about 15-mile-an-hour wind when we go around this corner. That's the perfect time to use number 4 on the dial. Or if you want to start skipping mangroves or skipping under docks, number 4 is perfect for that. If you want to learn how to do that, it is perfect for that. Go check this video out right now, and I'll tell you some more of the benefits and features that I want you to know about your brand new Shimano DC. Like they're always in here, laying in here. You're going to find one. And I was just probing around with a Mirrodine. I could see him waking out of the bushes because I threw it up tight to the prop roots and he came waking out of the bushes there, and I knew mayhem was about to happen. There he is.
Oh! Jam! Hammer time, boys. Oh! He smoked it.
Oh, come on, Bubba.
Turn the trolling motor off.
Whew.
That's my favorite right there. Oh boy. Oh!
He crushed it. When he first hit it, I thought, if this is a snook, it's going to be one of my best.
That's a good fish. Just watch that trolling motor because I got it on
we get this one.
Anchor mode.
We can call it.
That's a stout one.
It's a good size fish too. Those are some of the capabilities that this reel will give you that you may not have been able to do before. Skipping docks, skipping mangroves. Just the ability to do something that you haven't if you've been a pretty decent casting reel user but have never been able to master that, this reel is going to let you do it. Now, some of the standard stuff is what's impressive about this. I mean, everyone's amazed that now they have way better control over their casting with this reel. There's a lot less thumbing, and that's what you think of when you buy a product from Shimano with the DC on the side of it. But in my opinion, it's some of the good old features that we've come to love. The Hagani solid cold forge body that just stays together. The integrity of the reel is never in question. There's no wobbling. There's that good strong rigidity that you'd expect. And what you also get is that micro module gearing with all the coatings inside that make this such a precision reel. It's so smooth. For the money and being able to utilize this in both bass and inshore. Now, I will tell you, you're going to have to take care of it if you're using it inshore. It's not like the Tranx 150 that is super protected. But in my opinion, this is one of those reels that if you're just learning and you want to take it inshore, don't be afraid to do that. It will really work. Now, next I want to talk a little bit about how I load this up and what braid weights are going to work best with this 150 size. So when we're talking braid weight for a 150 size reel, many of us will pack them full of 40-pound braid. Why do we do that? Well, We do it because it's easier to pick backlashes out of. That's true. You get a professional overrun, if you will, with a 150 size. It's a lot easier to pick that 40 out and then pull it through. And that's because the line diameter is much thicker. It almost mimics monofilament that way. But if you're gonna start throwing the DC, I'm gonna tell you, it's so trouble-free casting that I would end up starting with Power Pro 20. This is the super slick V2, so it's nice, thin, very slick, comes off the spool, and it will increase your casting distance with the DC. That's what I put on almost all my 150 DCs that are in that bag, is 20-pound Power Pro. And I find that works the absolute best for me. It does not matter what the conditions are, whether they're extreme or whether, about the only time I'll change is I will put 30 on it when I'm skipping. I will put 30 pound on when I'm skipping. But other than that, most of the braid weights that I put on here are 20. And you might say, so what are some of the situations that I would spend the extra money to have a DC versus throwing my tranks, which you see all the time. You see that here on FlatsClass YouTube all the time. I throw the tranks. I throw the Chronarch G a lot here on FlatsClass YouTube. Well, if I go on a trip to shoot FlatsClass television, or I'm just going to go out with one of my friends or a client and I know we're going to do YouTube that particular day, it's always nice to have a rod or the bag with me that I throw an extra one of these in, because you don't know what might happen. Front comes, all of a sudden it starts getting windy, this is a better choice. You do run into those occasional scenarios where, hey, here's an opportunity where we can skip up underneath something. I pull this out and start skipping with it. If you're throwing, this is sometimes you don't think about this, but if you're a casting rod guy, you think about this. If you're throwing kind of a leggy or a Laztec type bait that's a little bulkier, it's a little harder to control when you're casting. It's not like throwing a hard bait or a weight forward bait. This is more like you're throwing on a rigging hook where it's belly weighted and it's a little more difficult to throw. The DC 150 again does it beautifully, absolutely beautifully. When I'm throwing jerk shads and things like that I have Texas rigged, it's beautiful. Just because sometimes those things knuckleball in the air and they slow that spool up. And if you're throwing hard, and then you pick up another rod and it's got one of those jerk baits on it and doesn't have a DC on it, you go to throw it hard, it fuzzes right up. That doesn't happen with the Curado DC 150. It really doesn't. So, in my opinion, and I am a Shimano Pro ambassador, so I like to kind of give you that as a heads up. In my opinion, is it worth the money? Yes, absolutely worth the money. It's worth spending the extra money to get a reel like this. Not just for the scenarios I mentioned, but if you're learning or you're wanting to get better with it, this is a great reel to get better and get a lot more confidence in your bait casting skills. All that being said, hopefully you guys are enjoying great product reviews like we do with this one on the Shimano Curado 150 HG in the DC model. And you love our fishing tips. And if that's the case, I need you guys to subscribe, because I'm telling you right now, this channel could get a whole lot better if we have more subscribers. We're putting more and more energy in it going into 2023. And our goal is to take this to a level where I can have a full-time videographer following me around, and we can do this a lot more. Because right now we got tips, we got reviews, we got some podcast stuff, we got some of my old episodes on there. But we can do these videos almost every day if we get that subscription rate up. So even with all the millions of views that we're getting now, we trend very well. I want to be able to teach all of you how to be better anglers inshore in 2023 and more frequently. All right. Until next time, or until next year, which is just a few days away, I'll catch you guys in 2023 with some more great tips here on FlatsClass YouTube.